Ladies and gentlemen, diehards of all ages, welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, your boy as always behind the mic, and your boy Clint here. I almost forgot my own damn name. Welcome to the show. We are coming off of a fantastic night at UFC 297. First fight card of the year, UFC Vegas. It's a little sketchy. It's a little crappy. And what do? We immediately drop, 3 units and have, just a little bit of a bummer to start out 2024. But we got right back on the horse. UFC 297 up 13 units in one night and got a little lucky, I might add. We went 2-1 on 3 fights that went to split decision. One of those being our best bet with Chris Curtis on the money line. Couldn't have been any hairier for us. You got to take the wins. We can remember with absolute clarity the times that we get absolutely hosed over, bad beats, all the stuff that doesn't go our way. Sometimes we forget the good ones. Well, Saturday, we got a couple good ones. You don't often get bounces where the split decisions go your way that often. So I could not be happier, could not be more excited. The analysis, for the most part, I'd say was pretty spot on for that last card. And that's what today is. There's no UFC card this weekend, so we're just going to kind of hang out. We're going to chat. If people want to jump in and fire some questions off in the chat or anything like that, we'll address those. We'll take like an early little peek, just an overview of the next card for next week's event. Nice little short, chill and chat type of show this evening. We've got Gray in the house, member for 3 months, 100 units between UFC and NFL this weekend, complete insanity. And that is absolutely nuts. Going up over 100 units on one weekend is pure insanity. Congratulations. That's absolutely fantastic. So let's get right on into it, shall we? Well, let's go over the card. Let's talk about last week. So what we've got is, if I can find my numbers here, the official number plus 13.31 units for the win. Night started off great. Could not have gone any better for us, right? First fight of the night, you've got Malcolm Gordon, Jimmy Flick. And I tried to warn you. I tried to scream from the rooftops. Everybody, do not parlay Malcolm Gordon. The man is completely untrustworthy. Not a thing that you can do trying to back him at a chalk number. If you played Malcolm Gordon at minus 115, he looked minus 500 for the first round of this fight and then immediately cardio dumped, fell off a cliff, and died at the end of the round, had nothing to offer coming out in the second round. And Jimmy Flick, for all of his flaws, that man held strong. And when he came out for the second round, he knew exactly what he had to do. He got on top and he tapped Malcolm Gordon out. Didn't take him long at all. I was lucky enough to jump in here. We got plus 400 live between rounds. I couldn't believe they were hanging that number because Malcolm Gordon got reversed at the end of the first round. He got put on his back at the end of the first round. And then you could see him like limping his way to the corner. So you could just absolutely see the writing on the wall that Gordon had expended himself. He had nothing left to offer. And that's just a numbers game at that point, right? Like when a guy is completely exhausted like that, you got to take advantage of it. There were a couple scary moments in there. He clipped Flick on the chin a couple of different times. And we know Jim Flick is not the most durable fighter on the UFC roster. So that was a very hairy game. And we played it. We played it right. We got the round 2 sub. Okay, speaking of subs, I lost my sub special this week. And I'm really upset about it because there were so many fights that did have submissions that were right there, that were so easy for the taking. And I picked the ones that were a little bit longer shots that actually made more sense to me up in the old dome up here. And I didn't take the low hanging easy fruit like Jimmy Flick by sub. I thought about it. I actually had it in the sub special parlay. And then I was like, he might just get chinned in round one. He damn near did, but then he didn't, and then he got the sub. So like I barely missed getting the right sub special. And shout out Narco Cop, one of the guests on the show every now and again. They drilled it. Absolutely nailed the submissions on their side of things over there. They cashed a big old ticket. So I'm a little jealous. Second fight of the night, Priscilla Cachoeira and Jasmine Jourdain. This is the one that we like straight up called. I was so into Jazz this week. I said it was the ideal fight. It was the perfect matchup for her. Massive layup. The UFC was trying to get Canada going and trying to get Jazz a nice big highlight reel win. But the officiating, the ref in this fight, it was unreal. You've got this man out there who's worse than Chris Tione that's just like not gonna let somebody out of the cage until they're dead. Jazz set a record. She had to have set a record for significant strikes on an individual face in the octagon, and the ref just stood there staring at her. I mean, you've got Priscilla Cachoeira who's exhausted, whose face is swollen, broken, bleeding, but even when she like turtled for a second and covered up, she did just enough that the ref was like, nah, she's okay. And just let her keep going. I mean, the fight could have been stopped for a TKO in the first, the second, or the third rounds. We had a total of 398 strikes. 326 of those were significant from Jazz. Like, unfreaking real that this man let that continue. And I should have gotten a picture of Priscilla Cachoeira's face for the stream. I really should have thought ahead and done that because holy crap. So we had her tied to Josh Van from last week. Nice little 2.5 unit parlay to win 2. And quite frankly, this is one of those ones where I try to go risk adverse. You guys know me. Like, I'll swing for the fences when I feel like it's appropriate to do so. I'll take the free money where I can. But I don't ever get ballsy enough to take, I always try to teach you guys good habits, right? Like, I'm trying to have everyone be safe gambling. I don't want anybody to lose their mortgage or gamble more money than they can afford to lose. And it is sports betting. So, like, Jazz could have gotten clipped with the wrong shot and gone down and crumpled, and everybody's parlays are in flames. They ended up being in flames on this card anyway, but you know what I'm saying. I try not to just like put all the boats, all the army men in one boat, right? Like, we don't want all of our money to go down in one play. But this would have been the spot to be like, you know what? We're going to tie every bet we've got to Jazz this week. She's minus 400. She's not losing this fight unless it's the flukiest of all flukes, and just beef the number of literally every other thing you put your money on by tying it to Jazz because that's free money. Should have maybe been a little bit more aggressive, but I can't complain, right? We don't want to get greedy. We're just getting the year started out. We don't want to get greedy. I'll take my 2 units. The next fight, Johan Lainez and Sam Patterson. Some of y'all owe me an apology. Some of y'all better be in the chat. Some of y'all better be in the comment section of this video. I demand an apology because the amount of shit, the amount of crap that I took for picking Sam Patterson to upset Johan Lainez when I told you guys, Johan Lainez should never be a moneyline favorite in the UFC. Johan Lainez should never have a minus next to his betting odds over any individual in the UFC. Wrong fighter favored. Sam Patterson coming up from 155 off a knockout loss. Don't care. He is still the better fighter. And I could not believe the amount of reinforcement that everybody was giving me. The amount of opposition because everybody was on Johan Lainez. Everybody. People I respect were on Johan Lainez. People who I don't respect were on Johan Lainez. The public was on Johan Lainez. And when I was on that much of an island and my guy was plus 130 and then it goes boop, plus 120. I was like, oh, y'all are fucked. That's one of those reverse line movement spots where I'm just like, I'm just enjoying life at that point, because Vegas could not have written enough money on Johan Lainez. It wasn't possible for them to get enough action on Johan Lainez. I didn't see a single other person out there on Sam Patterson. And frankly, I was this close to making him my Link Memorial Dog of the Week. Thank God we still got the Dog of the Week through later on the card. But this one, it was just such a flawless performance. I mean, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And Sam didn't even really go with the game plan that I expected him to. I mean, okay, you know what? Actually, he kind of did, but it was in warp speed. Like, I expected him to kickbox from the outside until Johan Lainez slowed down, until Johan made a mistake, and then he would take him down, grapple him, wear him out. But I thought it would take 7 minutes. I thought it would take him into the second round. Like, Johan took 2 or 3 big swings, and that was it. It was over. Like, he was already on the ground. Patterson easily took the back and choked him out. And you know what? Real quick, I missed something on the last fight. I was way too excited to talk about Sam Patterson. One of the worst bad beats of the year already on that Jasmine Jasudavicius TKO prop. Plus 650. I put a half unit on it. I was beyond confident that she was going to do exactly what she did and just smash Priscilla Cachoeira's face with elbows until the referee stepped in and saved her. Problem is, the referee straight up refused to step in and save her. So this is what I was talking about. Jimmy Flick by sub, Jasmine Jasudavicius by sub, Sam Patterson by sub. If you got the trifecta right off the bat, you were sitting on a pretty penny. You had a nice little ticket in your pocket that cashed first 3 fights of the night, and all of those were at good numbers. I mean, Jazz I think she was like near even money. She was down in like the plus 150 to plus 200 range, so that one didn't do a bunch. But I know Sam was plus 300. I know Flick was plus 300, so you probably got like, you know, a 17 to 1 or something like that on that bad boy. Love it. Love it. The Sam Patterson fight, that's one of those ones where like I need to make like a deep cut or something like that on TikTok just to show how right I was, because that one I can definitely flaunt just a little bit. Marcus in the chat with the $5 dono. Thank you so much, Marcus. We at Pub Sports Radio here appreciate the support. Saying enjoying the show. Keep up the good work. Oh, that's Nubian. What's up, Marcus? Thank you for posting Nubian Bookstore. Oh my goodness. I should have looked at the profile picture. It's so tough, you guys. It's so tough because I seriously know like who 99% of you are. But when people either change their names or they change their profile picture, or you have a different name profile picture combo than what you have like on Twitter or something like that, I just completely lose you. I can't keep track of who everybody is on all the different platforms. So Marcus, thank you so much for including that. I know exactly who you are, and I hope you had a big night this weekend at UFC 297 as well. It seems like for the most part, the degenerate community did pretty well. Now, I'm mostly looking at my people that are over there on Twitter having a good night, but you know, I'm hoping the Instagram and TikTok people had a good night as well. The prelims got started in full swing here now. Jillian Robertson got things going again for Team Canada. And you know what? I was talking about this with Jazz, right? Like maybe I should have gone harder on Jazz. And Jillian was somebody who I was equally confident in. The reason, I'm going to just peek behind the curtain here for you guys. The reason that I tied Josh Van to Jazz is because Jazz was the number one most confident spot I had on this entire card, right? Like I was like, in no way, no world does she lose this fight. Not going to happen. No chance. But she's minus 400. I want that number down. I tied her to Josh Van because I thought there's a chance. Just a little baby chance. Like, what if Josh Van loses? If Josh Van wins, I've got a minus 125 on Jazz, and I couldn't be happier. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And the reason I wanted to set it up like that, though, was just in case Josh Van lost. I was going to do like a meme style women's, ladies' night in Canada parlay with Jazz and Jillian. Should have fucking done it anyway. Should have just doubled down. Should have just done it anyway. I ended up blowing the Jillian Robertson easy peasy spot because I tied her to the wrong person later on in the card. But we got Jillian home, round 2, TKO. I got my girls backwards. I said it was going to be Jazz TKO, Jillian sub, and it ended up being Jazz sub Jillian TKO. And I'm really upset because the price was just as sexy on Jillian TKO. I should have played them both. I knew she was going to be looking for the ground and pound and elbows. The difference was Polyana Viana has been submitted so many times. I thought she would turn and roll and like give up her neck and something, the way that she squirms. Usually she gives up the submission. I think she almost made like an intentional decision not to get choked out in this fight because she was willing to turtle and get saved rather than give her neck up. I almost think it was like one of those pride points where usually it's the opposite, right? You don't want to get knocked out, so you'll give up your neck instead. She's been submitted so many times, it's almost like she just refused to let that be the way that she went out. And Jillian was like, fine, I'm looking for a TKO anyway. Sweet, thank you. Absolute dominance from my girl Jillian Robertson. You love to see it. Canada going nuts. They're on the warpath. And then it was all downhill from here. Bantamweight, we got that weird fight with Ramon Tavares and Saidi. What a weird one. Potentially a bad split decision. I didn't know what to do with this one. I said it was dog or pass on Monday from a betting perspective, and Tavares did end up winning. And it's one of those things where it's like volume versus significance as far as the strikes go, because I think almost everybody thinks that Saidi won that fight, but the split decision went to Tavares. But you could see that City was hurt multiple times throughout the fight. So like the stats don't tell the perfect picture. And I'm very glad I didn't have my money on this fight. It's one of those ones where I feel like even if I had cashed the ticket on Tavares, like maybe that was the right side because it was a close fight. I always say you want the plus money going to a split. If the fight ends in a split decision and you're on the plus money side of it, you probably made a good bet, just because if it was that close, then you should be on the underdog, right? Laying chalk doesn't seem justifiable if the fight plays out as closely as it did. So I think that's the right thought process. But damn, watching the fight, I really thought City had it in the bag. So judges doing judgy things. Tavares gets the split, and a lot of people were really upset about that. But it was kind of a harbinger for the evening, right? Because a lot of these favorites that a lot of people were both on and thought won their fights ended up letting it slip. So one of the first ones to really let people down for the night. There's Air Dog. DDP did it for us. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I see Melon's in the chat right here, just with the H. I'm sure you're still typing. That's okay. I'm going to say hi to you anyway. The next fight, this is the one that kind of ruined the night, right? Like, so far to this point, we had pretty much swept the card. I didn't get the Jazz TKO prop, but I had gotten every single side that we had put our money on and bet correct. I'm sitting here thinking, holy shit, like we might even, the little Hail Mary degenerate $5 parlay I throw in every single week, hoping to sweep the card and hit like 8 or 10K off of $5 or something like that. I'm thinking maybe tonight's the night. Like, I'm feeling pretty damn good the way this card has started out. And then Charles Jourdain loses to Sean Woodson with one of the weirdest split finishes you'll ever see or hear. I mean, so first off, let me just kind of like walk it back, right? The analysis for this fight, I was off just a little bit. I know some people who I definitely respect that were on the Sean Woodson side of things, and congratulations. That was the side to be, apparently. I thought Charles Jourdain was going to be more active. I thought he was going to be more aggressive with the leg kicks. And I thought he might be more aggressive hunting the takedown. And that's what you need to do to tire out Sean Woodson. But he was more content to stay at kickboxing range for longer in the fight than I expected. And I think that's kind of what allowed Sean Woodson to get out ahead. And I thought Woodson won the first 2 rounds. Round 2 was much, much closer. Jourdain definitely had a better effort. And I would love to say that I scored it 2 rounds to 1 for Charles Jourdain myself, but I didn't. It wasn't enough still. I thought Sean Woodson still won the second round as well. So when they called split, I'm thinking, here we go. We're in Canada. We are getting the home cooking started now, and we're going to get it out of the way so we don't have to worry about it later, right? They're going to go ahead and set me up with Charles Jourdain getting his hand raised here. And then Buffer calls Sean. But the way he did it was like, Sean. And so like it sounded like Charles. It was the weirdest thing. The inflection of Buffer's voice sounded like Charles. And then the official in the cage raised the wrong arm. So Charles Jourdain thinks he won a split decision and starts celebrating. And of course, I'm sitting here and I just heard the very beginning of the name. So I think Charles won. I'm thinking I cashed a parlay and I got away with one. And then they walk it back and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. Sit your ass down. Sean Woodson is the winner of this fight. Weird. It was super, super weird. I don't know. I don't know. And I even like went back and I like ran the audio back and it's like, sure as shit, man. Like he actually said Sean Woodson. But the first time he called it, I mean, I've had bias as far as scoring a fight the wrong way, but I've never heard the wrong name called in the octagon like that before. Somehow, collectively, me and all of Canada heard Charles when Buffer read the decision card there. Very, very odd. No idea what the hell happened. Brad Katona and Garrett Armfield. This is another one that I really thought that it was a close fight. I thought it was a competitive fight. But at the end of the day, I thought Brad Katona did the better work. I thought he secured 2 and 3 with the takedowns, and Garrett Armfield started strong. So, like, I know he landed more strikes, but I thought the cleaner strikes, the more significant strikes, I think those came in rounds 2 and 3 from Brad Katona. So I really had it 29-28 for Katona myself. And the one thing I will say that I'm impressed with was Garrett Armfield's get up game and his cardio, because those were the two things that were kind of the question mark, right? Like we thought Brad Katona was probably going to be able to out game plan this guy. And then when they got into the deeper rounds, he'd have the better cardio. He'd be able to get the grappling going. And that would really be his path to victory. But Armfield did a lot as far as getting back up. He did a lot as far as being able to break the hands. He was able to, oh shit. Okay, all right. We've got a donation here, $10 from my guy, Lucrative MMA. And on top of that, he has offered to be an impromptu guest on the recap show. And why the hell not? Why wouldn't we go ahead and do that? We got nothing going on. Get your ass in here, Lucrative. I just shot you over the invite there on Twitter. So go ahead and jump on in here. Let's freaking go. Let's do this thing. I want to hear what you've got to say about these fights. So I know a lot of people had Brad Katona, and there's Gray saying that Katona and MBS cost me the full card parlay. Right there, man. Right there. I really thought Brad Katona was going to get the call. I thought he was going to get the decision, and hometown cooking just didn't exist on Saturday. It just straight up was not a thing. I thought a lot of these Canadians in these close fights were going to go ahead and get the nod in these tight back and forth matches that they were in. And I really kind of expected that this fight and Jourdain, like these were the ones that were close enough that I thought maybe they would go ahead and get their hand raised. And also, by the way, it gave me a freaking heart attack later on in the card when I needed to catch a break. But I thought, oh shit, the Canadian judges haven't shown up yet. And they're eventually gonna, and I thought it was gonna bite me in the ass. Ended up not doing that. Thank God for that. We will get to that here in a minute. That's the wrap on the preliminary card portion of the review. So if you guys want to do me a favor, hit the like button for me. This is Pub Sports Radio, and I hope some of you are winning free money on pubsportsradio.com. They've got the free MMA contest every single week. I hope you guys are making money and saving money also over on Bet Openly, my other sponsor that we have every single week here on the show. Next week, there is no UFC. But I tell you guys every single week about Spectation Sports, about the regional scene shows that I do with Spectation. And this is the week where you guys are definitely going to want to know a little bit more about that, because there is an awesome Cage Titans card this week over on Spectation Sports. Promo code DIEHARD will get you 20% off your membership there with them. And they're better than Fight Pass. They've got better shows than Fight Pass. They're getting bigger, and they're starting to put out betting odds much more consistently doing these things. So if you guys want to bet on regional scene MMA and then go watch it, this is the place to be, spectationsports.com. Again, promo code DIEHARD is going to be how you go ahead and get there with that 20% discount. Lucrative hit me in the DMs and said that he'll be on here in just a second. So we got to give him just a minute here. I'm trying to like kill time here and wait for the main card, because that's where all the juicy shit is. But I'm running out of things to talk about. So if you guys in the chat have something, throw me a comment, say something about this preliminary card, or if there's a hot topic maybe that I missed, let me know. But oh, there we go. It's time. It's happening. All right, everybody. We got none other than my boy James, Lucrative MMA. What's up, my guy?
Bang, what's up, brother? Happy to be on, man. I just was watching your show and I thought, why not just send a message? I don't know if you regularly have guests in for these, but I just finished the stream myself, so I was kind of in that chatty mood. You know how it goes. I wasn't really done chatting MMA. I don't know if you feel like that after you do these podcasts sometimes. Like you kind of just want to keep going. And I only went on for like an hour. So, man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, I love it. I love it. So usually on these break week streams, I do not have anybody that comes on with me because it's kind of more of just like a my results betting recap, or like I don't feel like me and my chat like have that little one-on-one sit down by the fire and get to know each other. So like that's kind of my opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, with no event this week, the chat's not really popping all that much, so I'm kind of talking to myself. It was perfect. You popping up out of nowhere and volunteering. I was like, hell yeah, man. I want to talk to somebody.
Thanks.
This card was too good not to talk about it.
Yeah, man. Everyone was saying that this card is like a shit card, but obviously I had a good week on the card. I won a lot of money. So
Yeah,
in my head, the card was so good. Like genuinely, I thought it was so exciting, but obviously it seems like that's literally just because of the wins I had on it. So I don't know your opinion on it, because I know you won on it as well. Was it like a boring card and I just completely missed it because I was just happy winning all this money?
I do think there is an element to that. I absolutely believe that there is some element to that. I mean, betting makes everything more exciting, obviously, and winning betting is even more fun. But yeah, man, like let's see here. The first 3 fights of the night, it was bang, bang, bang. Like they started off strong. And then the preliminary card, it was kind of rough, I think, where they went. The Tavares fight, the Jourdain fight, the Katona fight, like 3 in a row where it kind of started to like slow the pace down. And then Mobsar and Curtis, like they went to decision too. So I just think it was like that big lull in the middle that kind of got everybody a little sleepy. If they weren't cashing tickets, it wasn't as fun.
Yeah. I thought what you're saying. And then oftentimes the card is rated on how it ends. I see that a lot. Like you can have a really shit card, and then if the main card is good, everyone's like, "This is the best card ever." And I guess for the main card, the co-main event went to a decision. It wasn't really that spectacular. And the main event, I think people were expecting more out of Dricus and Duplessis and Strickland. Not that many people touted that fight to go to decision. And it's not like they was rocking each other consistently and it was a crazy war. I enjoyed it, but I don't think that it was as exciting as most people would have hoped for. So I understand people moaning at that, but like you say, man, gambling changes the game a lot, bro. So even if it was Russian under 12s golf, I would probably still enjoy it if I had a few dimes on it.
Absolutely, man. That's me and my Coyotes in hockey every other day. I'm staying up until 11 o'clock sweating that empty netter at the end of the game. That's what happens. Oh man, we got to shout out our boy though, Gray in the chat with the $100 dono. That is massive, my guy. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Saying my 2 favorite cappers, breaking down the best card of my life. We are living the dream, boys. Indeed we are, Grade. Indeed we are. So I know you're a little late to the show here, James, but if you missed it, right at the top, Gray said that he won 108 units between UFC and NFL this weekend. So our boys' pockets are full coming into the show, just like yours and mine. I obviously am third on the totem pole here. For anybody that didn't know, if you're not on X, James won over 100K this weekend. So like I tell you guys every single week, I'm not a professional bettor. There are people much better at this and much smarter than me, better at this than me. I bring them on as guests. James is one of those people. So he's a regular guest on the show. This man swings way bigger. Hopefully one day I'll have the cojones to go as hard as he does. But up over 100 grand on a single card. Impressive as all get out, my guy. I already went over the preliminary card. Let's backtrack. Did you have any thoughts or like anything to say on any of these early fights?
Yeah, so I bet on, I think I won like the first 4 fights of the night. So I bet on Jimmy Flick at plus
Beautiful.
110. And then I know the line went crazy to plus 180, which I really couldn't believe it. And the takeaway for me on that fight is that sometimes the market is smoking crack and sometimes you need to just ignore the market. It's very hard to do this, Clint. And I'm sure that you've been in a position I've been in as well as a gambler where you bet on a fighter and then the line moves against you and you're like, have I missed something here? You start to second guess yourself, right? But there's like, there's two coins of fault. There's one side where, have I missed something? Is the sharp action going against me? But then the other side of the fault is, no, I like this read. I know my read. I'm going to double down on it. And obviously, if I bet at plus 110, I should be betting more at plus 180, right? In the Gambler 101 handbook. But that's not always how it plays out in reality, because you have to account for sharp line movement and stuff like that. But I was spooked off. I'm not going to lie. I was worried. I was thinking that Jimmy Flick was going to come in there with an injury or something. And he didn't. The fight went exactly as I thought. It was a hilarious fight. It was a really, really funny fight. And I know a lot of people bet on Malcolm Gordon. Did you have any bets on the fight?
I got in on Flick Live, man. Plus 400 for a unit after the first round. I couldn't believe the number they were hanging because we saw the gas start to fail on Gordon at the end of the first round. I was like, oh, he's done. He's shot. Like, he's got nothing left.
Didn't Flick have him in a choke at the end of the first round?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they went to their corners. I checked the live line and it's 4-1. I was like, I have to. Crazy. That's easy peasy.
Nice. Yeah. That's an amazing bet. Like, Flick's hilarious, bro. Like, he looks so bad, but he just wins a lot, submissions and stuff. So that was a good one. And then the next fight, I think, was it Jillian or Jasmine?
That was the Jasmine one with the brutal referee that wanted to see Priscilla die in the octagon.
Yeah, so that's another takeaway for that one and for the viewers as well. And you can't really cap this in too much, but at least it's good to know. The takeaway for the viewers and for us is that our bets are in the hands of the refs as much as they are in the hands of the fighters. So we're always looking at the fighters like, oh, is this fighter going to win? What can this fighter do? Sometimes you have to look at the refs as well. Is this ref going to stop it? Now, it's very hard to do, like I said, because first of all, we don't know who the ref's going to be until the day of the fight. And then second of all, we don't even know what mood or what side of the bed the ref has woken up on. Sometimes the same ref will stop a fight early and the next fight, they'll stop it late. And I actually think that these refs bet on MMA, man. I don't want to, go too into the weeds now, and start talking all conspiracy theories. But I actually believe that these refs bet on MMA 100%. I would do it. And so I believe that they do it. And sometimes some of these decisions, like Benoit Saint Denis versus Zaleski dos Santos, and you look at that and you go, surely the ref bet the over 2.5 rounds or something on that spot. So I don't know if it happened in the Jasmine fight, but she beat her ass and she said she was going to discipline her. She definitely did it. I bet on Jasmine to win in round 3 there, which was great. And the money line. And then the next fight was Gillian Robinson, I believe. And I bet on Gillian Robinson to win in round 2. I think I'm getting that one right. And I actually ended up winning over 50K on Gillian Robinson, who is your girl. I know that. Sir. But now she's my girl. We're going to have to share her, bro. We're going to have to share her because she's won me 50K. I'm not trying to steal her off you, but she kind of just done that herself by getting that TKO in round 2. So, yeah.
That's fine. She can be our girl now. We're officially a throuple. It'll be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was good. And yeah, that was the main takeaways from me on the preliminary portion of the card.
Good deal. Good deal. How did you score Katona and Armfield? Because that was the one I just kind of ended on. And I actually thought Katona should have got 2 and 3. It was close. It wasn't like he blew him away, but I thought he did enough to get those last 2 rounds.
Yeah, so I bet on Katona and I also bet him to finish late. I was actually surprised that Armfield's cardio and, like you just said, cardio and defensive grappling held up as well as it did. I didn't think that they would. I was wrong on that. I scored it for Katona. I don't think I'm being biased because I also bet Tavares at plus 155 against City. And I scored that fight for City against my bet. But for the Katona one, I scored it for Katona. I felt like he just out-hustled him and just done more in most rounds, but I'm not going to cry robbery because shit swung in my favor as well. Sean Woodson, I got that fight even though I scored it for him. The City fight I got even though I scored it against me. And I even bet on Duplessis at the end, and that was a split decision as well. So, I went like 3-1 on split decisions. I can't moan too much, but I did score it for Katona.
That's what I was saying at the start of the show, man. I went 2-1 on splits. And you got to just take those nights to the bank. I don't remember the last time I had a good night on split decisions. Like 1-1 is the best I ever do. So I got to remember this one. It was an all timer for me. So main card, Arnold Allen, Movsar Evloev. I mean, bro, I just want to kick it off with like, what the hell is wrong with Dana White? He was saying that this card, or not this card, he was saying that this fight sucked the air out of the room. He was saying that this fight was one of the worst fights in UFC history to lead off the main card. And I don't understand. This was a fun fight. Now, was it a barn burner? Was it the best fight I've ever seen? No, it wasn't. But it was a high level, competitive, back and forth fight. The guy who won it, who's got an 18-0 undefeated record, is bleeding in the corner from shots he's taken. I mean, like, this was a hell of a fight. And if you want to go back and like talk about a bad fight, like some of the preliminary card fights were probably worse than this one. No way was it the worst fight, even on this card, much less of all time. I don't get it. I'm almost wondering if he confused it with a different fight.
Bro, I'm speechless. What can I say? Like, I mean, we all know that he's just talking shit. Like, you know it, I know it, all the viewers know it. He's just talking shit. I don't know how to break it down other than that. Not only was it a really high level fight, which you have to just have even more respect for when they're that high level, just because it's very hard to get your own game off when you're fighting someone so high level. So instantly, even if the fight is a higher level, even if they have maybe a quote unquote more boring fight, I respect it and I like it even more. But that's maybe just me personally, because I really, really love MMA and I understand the intricacies between feinting and pushing and pulling and, you know, the chess game that a lot of people maybe don't see. So that was going on. But also the actual fight, like if they were just two bums from the regional scene, that shit was a high-paced fight. Movsar shot 17 takedowns. 17. And he got 5. To shoot 17 takedowns, that's impressive. That's consistently pushing the action. Allen was busted up bad. Allen kind of got the shit beat out of him in round 2. He was busted up, bruised. He got rocked. Movsar got badly bruised. He was cut all over. Aesthetically, it was a good fight because everyone was bleeding. The pace was insane. Like I really enjoyed that fight. It was like one of my favorite fights on the card. It was one of my favorite fights on the card.
Super weird, man. Dana Ice, I don't know. I hope a reporter like asks him next time about it, because I swear he's just got to be mixing it up. It was pretty funny though, man. I didn't end up betting anything on this one pre-flop. I picked Movsar. I was a little scared of Allen. I thought the line was maybe a little too wide, that kind of thing. So I was happy to stay off of it from like a betting and money line perspective. But I did bet Movsar to be champ at the end of the year at 20-1. And I did that. I broke it down on my futures show. I think if he wins this fight, he's pretty much the #1 contender at this point. And he's got a clear path to the title, especially if Ilia Topuria gets the belt. They've got history. They're going to try to beef that fight up and book that one because there's some bad blood, a long-going feud there for that. So at 20-1, I loved it from a futures perspective. He wins the fight, and DraftKings is still hanging 18-1. They didn't close their futures market. They left it up there. I literally know the result of the fight. He beat Arnold Allen, and DraftKings was still hanging 18-1. I tweeted it immediately, and I was like, folks, I'm putting more money on this because DraftKings is caught slipping. So even if I end up hedging off on this, I'm sitting on 20-1 and 18-1 for Movsar to hold the belt here at the end of the year. And I think it's as simple as Topuria beating Volkanovski for me to get that shot, and then hedge part of that off on Topuria for some free cash going into the year. Fingers crossed that plays out perfectly for me. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, you're set up, bro, because even if Volkanovski wins, he'll probably still fight Evloev, or he relinquishes the belt and then Evloev fights for it anyway. And then if Topuria wins, they probably make that fight. The only way I'd be worried, or the only thing I'd be worried about, is what Dana White's comments after the fight. Seems like he's not fucking with Evloev. And, you know, Dana White is the decision maker overall. So even though he should get the title shot, it comes down to what Dana White actually wants. So that's the only thing I would worry about. But, I mean, you're worrying about it on a 20-1, you know. It's not like you're worrying about an even money shot. So, bro, that's a great spot to be in. And I think even if he fights Topuria, the fight should be, like, fairly closely lined. I reckon Topuria will be favorite, especially after beating Volk. But I don't think it'll be more than 200. -200.
I agree. That's exactly what I was thinking.
you'll be able to hedge it. Yeah, that's a perfect spot. I actually, just as you said that, I went on 2 of my bookies. I don't have DraftKings, but I went 2 on my bookies to see if they have the futures market. They still don't have it up. So I'm not really going to... Has Bet Online got the futures market? I haven't even checked.
They did. I don't know if they've put it back up since the fights have concluded.
Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to jump on that one with you then. But hey, maybe I'll be able to cash on Evloev at some point. Anyway, I did cash on him against Arnold Allen, which is good.
Nice.
So I bet on him as a money line, and I also bet on him to win via decision. And I also had some crazy same game parlays. I don't know if you do these, but they're quite popular these days. And actually, the takedown markets on them are still very inaccurate. So anybody listening now, this is a massive jewel that I'm telling you, because it ain't going to be around forever. But on Neds and Ladbrokes, which is the main bookie that I use to bet these specific same game parlays, if you couple a fighter's money line or method of victory with them getting multiple takedowns, if they are a wrestler, obviously you ain't going to do it with Conor McGregor. If they are a wrestler, then you boost up the money line massively. So I played Evloev to win via decision, which was minus 125, I think. But I added to him to get 2 or more takedowns, and it boosted it up to like plus 150, which is quite a big shift. That's like over a 10% implied probability shift just for him to get 2 takedowns. In my head, I don't think he had ever got less than 2 takedowns in a UFC fight other than Nick Lentz, which is, he did that on purpose. And then Mike Grundy, when Grundy shot on him. And every other fight, he had like 4 or 5 takedowns. And Arnold Allen had only really lost outside the Holloway fight 2 wrestlers who took him down. He actually won both those fights, but they was very close, Mads Burnell and Amir Khani. So I thought like it was impossible for Evloev to win the decision unless he got takedowns. So yeah, I won a lot of money on the same game parlays there. I ended up winning over 10K on Movsar alone. So I ain't got the futures, but you know, he won me a lot of money regardless.
No, that's amazing, man. Yeah, I have started to kind of dabble in the same game parlay streets for MMA. Definitely not something that I've quite found my feel for just yet, but I do see some people posting some crazy numbers. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. I'm a little bummed because I felt like the money line was too wide, and I said it was Movsar Evloev by decision. That's only minus 125, and I didn't take it. That's one of those ones where like I left money on the table. The read was right, the prep was right, and I just didn't pull the trigger for some reason. So I'm a little bummed about that. Left money on the table. I hate when I do that, but it is what it is. The next fight,
he's 8-0, and this is probably why Dana doesn't like him as well. This is like going behind the scenes. When Dana says stuff like that, he's probably not talking about that specific fight. He's probably talking about the 8 fights before, because Movsar is about 7-0 in the UFC. All 7 he has won by decision. He has got not one finish out of 7 fights, but he's undefeated. And you know Dana loves his finishes, so that's probably why he's hating on him a little bit as well.
You know, that is probably accurate, man. Dana White has a tendency of talking shit like that, especially when he wants to see something change. To be fair, though, Arnold Allen is like impossible to finish. And Movsar wobbled him. Did you notice that? Like with the hands. And that Max Holloway put 200 significant strikes on Movsar and didn't hurt him in that fight. And Movsar did what Holloway wasn't able to do, almost knocked him out on the feet. I mean, that's one of those things where like it was razor thin for just a split second, but impressive as hell. Somebody less durable than Allen probably goes down there.
Yeah, he's come close. Like I remember Dawadu, he had 2 10-8 rounds. I think one judge scored 2 10-8 rounds. He had a couple of submission attempts. I remember he hurt Dan Ige with a flying knee. Ige just completely took it. I mean, it's not like he's not trying, you know. It's not like he is trying. He just hasn't been able to get it yet. Yeah, exactly. Like he'll get it one day, I'm sure. But bro, I love betting on these decision fighters because you know that they can go the full 3 rounds. So you know that they got the pace to go the full 5 rounds. If they're winning by decision, it means they're winning minutes, they're winning rounds, which is the most important thing in MMA outside of finishing ability, is winning rounds, man. So I've been betting on Movsar literally almost every fight, bro. Like I bet on him via decision so many times, bro. It's insane. I've never bet on him to finish a fight. I don't think I ever will. I'll just keep betting death taxes and Movsar Evloev via decision. That's what they say. So I'm going to keep running it home.
I like it. I like it, man, for sure. And yeah, shout out Gray saying Allen almost snatched his neck for a second there. Indeed, he did. That panic gator roll to get out of there. But like dude, I've said it before. It's impossible to sub Mobsar. Nobody on planet Earth is ever going to submit Mobsar Evloev. You might be able to punch him in the face hard enough to knock him out, but I don't think he's ever going to tap. He just has the defense for everything. He has the position for everything. He knows how to take a deep breath and stay calm. He is never going to get submitted. I don't know how he does it, but the kid is unreal when it comes to his grappling ability. Chris Curtis, Marc-Andre Barriault. I was so scared in this fight, man. So I was waiting on this card for the Canadian home cooking. They didn't give it to Brad Katona. They didn't give it to Charles Jourdain. And I'm sitting here going, oh shit. Like this is gonna be a close back and forth, beat them up. And even though I think I've got every edge in the book with Chris Curtis, they're gonna rob me blind because they have yet to give one of the men's Canadian fighters a decision. So, dude, I was sweating bullets this whole fight. I think Chris Curtis, and it's funny, I actually tweeted out that I felt like in hindsight, this was probably a bad bet because it played a lot closer than I thought it would when I had kind of capped it in my mind. I've since taken a step back. I've taken a couple deep breaths. I think that was me panicking in the moment with a lot of money on a big bet where I thought the judges were going to fuck me because they had yet to give it to a Canadian fighter. I think Chris Curtis 30-27 is way more correct than Marc-Andre Barriault 29-28 is. Like, I really think Chris Curtis won the majority of the big exchanges here. Yes, it was close. Yes, there was a lot of volume. But I still think Chris kind of edged out almost every single round. So I'm going to walk it back. I'm okay. I think laying the minus 166 was just fine in this spot. I was hoping Chris would finish so I didn't have to sweat the judges, but Barriault did the damn thing, man. It was an impressive performance from him. That was a fun fight.
So I actually left my house and I went to Nando's. Shout out to all my English guys. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think you have it in America, Clint, but this is the best food in the world, bro. Chicken and chips, Nando's. Have you ever heard the saying, a cheeky Nando's?
No, not a phrase I'm familiar with.
Americans, bro, you're only in your own world, you know, as they say. Yep. Nando's is massive in the UK. It's like basically a chicken place, right? So they have it over here in New Zealand, and it's very close to my house. So I went to Nando's, I got some food, and during that time, it was the Curtis versus Barriault fight. I didn't have any bets on that fight. That's why I went quickly to pick up my Nando's and come back home. So I only came back right as the fight was finishing, and it was kind of like swinging in the pocket. So I'm actually interested to know how that fight went. If you could answer me this question specifically, which is what I was kind of umming and ahhing on when I capped the fight. Mm-hmm. Was it just a pocket boxing fight? And then was Barriault able to get any clinch strikes going? And then how did the fight play out overall? Because I'm interested.
Yeah. So it was interesting because one of the big things I said leading into this, James, was that Barriault is the perfect opponent for Chris Curtis. The perfect opponent. He's going to come forward, and if you come forward on Chris, he's going to hurt you. It's the guys that are too fancy. It's the guys that he can't catch. It's the guys that he has to chase around the cage. Those are the guys that are going to give him problems. And I was like, there's no way Marc-Andre Barriault can fight like that for 15 minutes. And I don't think he's even going to try. He tried. The first round of the fight, Barriault stayed on the outside. He skipped around. He stayed away. I mean, there was a point, I think at the beginning of the second round, where Chris Curtis turned his back on him and like walked into the center of the cage again because he was like, bro, what are we doing? Like it was the Joker fight all over again, where Chris was just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, come fight me. And the crowd was like booing. And that I think is kind of what shifted the mentality for Marc-Andre, because once that happened, once his hometown crowd booed at him, he started coming forward. And then they really started to get into it. So round one was pretty bad, if I'm being honest. And then rounds 2 and 3 really started ratcheting up. And by the third minute of round 3, they're in the phone booth. And to end the fight, we're talking like Pride style. Every guy's got a hook and they're, you know what I mean? Like it was big time fireworks for the last minute and a half of the third round. And it just ratcheted its way up the deeper the fight went. So it actually ended up being a really fun fight. It was good. Chris Curtis, I think, again, barely edged out the first round, but that probably was because Barriault was running away. And like, so Curtis landed the more significant strikes when he had a chance to, and Marc-Andre was kind of running around. So I scored the first round for Curtis. Round two was a bit closer because, again, it hit that point in the mid of the fight where it flipped from Barriault kind of running to coming forward again. And he landed some good shots. So, like, I kind of thought round two was a much closer round. And then in round three, when they really started to slug it out, both guys were really trading and having success. But it felt to me that the more significant strikes were coming from Curtis. The cleaner strikes were coming from Curtis. In the pocket, he was kind of covering up the way he does and defending well, and then rolling with counters. And those were the ones getting home. So I had it 1-3 for Chris Curtis at least. And then 2 was kind of a toss up. But with the crowd going nuts, Canada at home, I was like, man, if they 29-28 Marc-Andre, I would not be shocked. And then it went to a split. One of the judges did exactly that, where they scored at 29-28 for Marc-Andre.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, some of these cards is literally every single hometown robbery. I remember on the French card, there was a couple of hometown robberies there. Jocelyn Edwards got robbed. I remember that one because I bet on her.
Oh, my God.
Did you bet on her as well?
I remember that one so clearly. Yeah, I bet Jocelyn, and I bet her with such confidence it makes me a little sick to my stomach. I can't believe that one. Her and Pudilova were the two that come to mind whenever I think of bad robberies.
That was a good bet, bro. Like, it shouldn't make you that, sick because you lost the bet, right? But like, that was a good bet.
Yeah.
She dominated her. She grappled her for like 14 minutes, and then somehow she lost the decision. But, that card, I think it was that card, and there's a Brazilian card where, like, all the Brazilians won robberies and stuff. And then the Canadian, they give no Canadian in a close fight. They give none of them the decision. It's just, again, just random MMA shit. You never know what's going to happen in a card, so you just have to take it all on the chin, man.
Absolutely. You never know what you're going to get in this sport. It's why we love it. It's why we hate it. Swiss Horton, shout out in the chat saying, Perry Perry chicken. This guy sounds like he enjoys a pint and some chip.
You probably won't come all the way over to New Zealand, right? Because it's very far. But if you ever end up in London, like a lot of people travel to London, it's the most visited city in the world, actually, for tourism. There's a fun fact for you there. If you do end up going there, promise me you go to Nando's because it's the bang bang, bro. You'll love it.
Okay. Hey, I absolutely promise you, you'll be the first one I text if I ever decide to take the wife on a trip to London, and she would love it. I'm the one who doesn't want to go. I don't want to go any further than like a 2-3 hour car ride away, man. I'll hang out where I'm comfy, but the wife would love it if one of these days I'll hit a big parlay and take her to London so I can try.
Go, bro.
She's gonna think it's like our 15-year anniversary, but I'm just gonna go get some chicken.
Yeah, man. You need Neil Magny on the next Neil Magny fight, bro. We'll get onto that one. On the next Neil Magny fight, we'll do it.
That's where it's at. But bro, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna kick this one to you very quickly because I set this thing up on a platter and then didn't do jack shit. So I said all week that I felt like the line was a little bit too wide. I felt like I wanted to be there for the Mike Malott fade, and the problem is the UFC is giving him a guy who he's got the perfect skill set to take on, and it's going to be Malott round 1 sub. If he knows what he's doing, if he plays this right, it's apparent that he can take Neil Magny down early in the fight and sub him out, and it'll be over before it gets started. So as much as I think there might be just a little bit of value on Neil Magny, I said I'm going to wait. I'm going to watch this fight, and live betting would be perfect because he's going to lose round 1. And if he loses round 1, I'm going to get an even better number on him. And then when he takes over the fight, I'm much more live at a bigger, sexier number. Well, James, watching the fight, Malott didn't do anything the way I thought he would. In fact, it was almost worse for me. You and I were DMing about this because Malott destroyed Neil Magny's leg. Now, I thought he was going to take him down easy peasy and submit him. And it was pretty clear in round 1 that Malott was more physical than Magny was, at least in that round, right? So he could have taken him down, and he probably grabs the neck pretty easily if he does that. But instead he chose to strike. I thought Magny was crippled. That leg was compromised. He was having a hard time getting back to his corner. And seeing that, I was like, I can't put my money on Magny now. Like, I've got a one-legged fighter taking on a guy who's just going to piece him up until he decides to lay down so he doesn't get kicked in the shin anymore. and there's no way I can put my money on this guy.
Yeah.
And what the hell, man? I mean, like, it didn't even happen in the second round. I still felt pretty good about passing because the second round was more of the same. And then in the third, Malott fumbles the freaking bag. And I know you made a boatload on this, so I'm just going to pass it off to you because you can rave all you want about this fight, man. This was glorious.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna flex a little bit. I'm gonna take some credit. I've been trying to fade Mike Malott for a long time, bro. A long time. I've actually bet against him in every single one of his UFC fights, and I've lost betting against him in every single one of his UFC fights, apart from Neil Magny, right? So I had it in my head that this guy was a fade. And that's because I saw his defensive tendencies on the feet. I didn't like it. I saw his cardio. I didn't like it. I saw a few intricacies of his game that might not be there to the naked eye. I didn't like them. I felt like he was a bit of a quitter. I felt like when things are going his way, he's good, but he's not a good nail. These are things that I saw and I guess believed because we didn't have too much tape, right? But sometimes you need to read between the lines of tape. Yes, he finished Mickey Gall, but if you actually rewatch that fight, he was getting tagged up and he wasn't liking it, bro. Like, he wasn't liking it. You could see the facial expressions change. You could see the body language change ever so slightly. But if you watch that fight back and you're not fully in depth on MMA, you go, oh, damn, he's finished him in round one. Amazing performance. But there's just a few things I just didn't like, bro. So I've been trying to bet against him. Obviously, I've lost every time, right? But then it comes to Neil Magny. And it's so funny because I was going to pass this time because I'm like, all right, maybe I just have a bad read on the fighter, right? And I've been making some content recently that I haven't released yet. And one of that pieces of content is about, in MMA, you have ace fighters and bogey fighters, right? And I got a reference from golf. And ace means you cap them very well. You and Gillian Robertson, you always know Robertson. You know if she's going to win the fight. You know if they're going to lose the fight. And then you get bogey fighters, fighters that you can't cap to save your life. When you think they're going to win, they lose. When you think they're going to lose, they win. And I just thought, you know what? I started accepting maybe Malott is my bogey fighter. Maybe I just can't read this guy. So I was going to pass, right? But then I thought to myself, you've been in the game for a long time, James. You know MMA. Trust your read. If you pass now, he's probably going to lose because he's your bogey fighter. So actually, you should double down now. And I actually doubled down, Clint. I thought it's his biggest step up in competition ever. And you know, one of the main things that made me bet Neil Magny here, I mean, there's many things, but one of the real big things, and this is why this is always a numbers game, is because he was the biggest favorite he's ever been in a UFC fight against the best fighter he's ever fought. I couldn't get behind that. I could not get behind that. How can you label Mike Malott a bigger favorite against Neil Magny than you do Mickey Gall or Adam Fugit? Yep. He didn't show me anything really in that fight that showed me he should be a bigger favorite. I knew that he was capable of early finishes, right? So I just thought, this is insane. I know Neil Magny looked washed, but even a washed Neil Magny still may be able to beat Mike Malott because I don't believe in him. Obviously, I looked like an idiot for the first 2 rounds. I actually thought my bet was done. You have to always trust your balls, guys. This is a big takeaway. You need to trust your balls because even if you don't trust your balls and then you lose, you are going to kick yourself so much more than if you stayed off because someone told you to. You know, if you stay off because someone told you to and it loses, then you're happy you stayed off. But you don't really think much of it. You're like, yeah, Clint told me to stay off and he saved me some money. Thanks, Clint. But you don't think of it too much. But if Clint tells you to stay off and it wins, then you're angry at Clint. You're fuming at Clint, right? It's completely different. So it's not even worth it. You should just trust yourself. Unless you're a really shit handicapper, then all right, that's a completely different story. Like, people sign up to my service because they think I'm better at handicapping than them. They don't have the time. That's fine. That's a different story. But getting back to the fight, yeah, I put a lot of money on this guy, Clint. I don't know how much I put on him, but overall, I mean, I bet on Neil Magny money line. I bet Neil Magny to win in round 3. I bet Neil Magny to win in round 2 and round 3. And I spread all of those bets out on every single bookie that I bet on for that card, which was about 6 to 8 different bookies. So I had all 3 bets on 8 bookies. So if you just calculate the odds,
wow.
The post I did on Twitter, I showed $44,000 worth of bet slips for Neil Magny alone, but I had way more than that. I just couldn't screenshot every single one and post them up. So that's the biggest win I've ever had on a fight. I won over $70,000 on Neil Magny. And I actually did a tweet earlier today saying that from here on, January the 20th will be known as Neil Magny Day. So that's the official Neil Magny day now, January the 20th. It was my biggest cash ever. Yeah, it obviously feels really good. And I'm still a little bit on a high from it now, even though I'm trying to keep myself level because we have to go into the next card regardless of all of these emotions that we're feeling now. But I can't lie if I didn't say I'm a little bit high on it because everything played out perfectly for me.
Absolutely, man. I mean, hey, that I don't blame you. I mean, if I made that kind of money, I don't know if you'd be able to find me for a week. So it's probably a nice thing we've got a week off this week. Like the grind never stops for us. We get a 1 week break, and then it's like 9 straight weeks of MMA events. So this maybe came at like the perfect little time so you can take a couple days to like bask in the glory of your success here before you have to get started. I know you look way out ahead, but it's probably a perfect spot for you to get just a minute there. The next fight, man, really ruined me. I'm pissed off here because I've always said Raquel Pennington's my girl. Like, I love Rocky. I love her story. I love her personality. I love everything about her. And I was really rooting for her, like on a personal level, to get that Bisping moment where she finally got gold at the end of her run. I wanted to see it, but everything in my soul screamed that Mayra Bueno Silva was going to be too physical, was going to find a way to the neck, was going to win the big moments with the big power shots. And maybe there was a chance that Rocky finally is old enough that she's slowing down or she didn't take a shot quite as well. Like, so I really thought Mayra was going to win this fight. So the biggest futures bet that I made this year was Mayra Bueno Silva to be champion at the end of the year at 4-1. I thought that was a great number. Just like the Movsar fight, I thought she gets by Rocky. And then we've got maybe 1 or 2 defenses by the end of the year, but who in this division is really going to pose much of a problem after Raquel Pennington? It's pretty empty. I felt like it was a pretty good number. And then all week I debated back and forth. I'm like, I don't really want to like double down and compound losses here if I'm wrong. And the number dropped low enough that I felt like I wanted to get involved. So I did lay 1.62, I think, to win 1 unit on Mayra Bueno Silva. So I took a big bath on this one. You know, at the end of the year when I'm tallying up the record and I lose those 2 units on the futures bet, I'm going to look back at this and be pissed because I could have taken the moral victory of, hey, I passed and I didn't lose extra on it. Or I could have just rode to war with my girl Rocky Pennington one last damn time, and I didn't do either of those. So this was an upsetting fight for me. It looked a couple times like Mayra was going to go ahead and hit that ninja choke that she likes to attack. She was close a couple times, but Rocky was well prepared for it. And what can I say? I'm happy Rocky got the win, but I burned some money this weekend on this fight.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's funny because, like, in hindsight, it seems so obvious that Pennington would win, and it doesn't always seem like that. But just thinking about it, like, I'm not going to play hindsight merchant, but it's just like, you know, she only really wins dominantly when she finishes. Pennington's so hard to finish. Pennington was proven in championship rounds, 5-round fights. Like, she's a veteran of the sport. She could probably clinch and stay safe. Like, it just seems so obvious post-fight. But, bro, like, it wasn't pre-fight, so I'm not saying it was obvious at all because I actually did a free bet, and one of the free bets I gave out a leg, which was Mayra Bueno Silva. I didn't actually bet it myself, but I gave it out as a free bet as a piece of content because I do content on Instagram and I do reels, like 60-second breakdowns, and I do free bets. I do 1 free parlay bet and 1 free bet. The free bet was Movsar the decision, but then the free parlay bet was a free legger with Mayra Bueno Silva in it. And a few people were moaning at me after, oh my God, you know, Mayra Bueno Silva, now she lost and stuff. And I think to myself, you know what? I'm probably not going to play. I'm not going to give out any content unless I bet it myself now because it just kind of like makes me look bad, even though I felt like it was a decent bet. So I thought that Mayra Bueno Silva was the side at -170. I was fully with you, not enough to back it, but fully with you still. But Pennington, she's a veteran, man. Like, she gave her the veteran lesson. She was taking her down. I thought she was going to finish her around 5. She was very close to getting a submission in. It was a great win. It was good to see Rocky win that fight, man, because she's paid her dues in the sport and she deserves that moment.
Yep. I'm right there with you, man. Couldn't be happier. It's a bummer we both went down there on that one. I think for me, I felt so vindicated when I picked Mayra Bueno Silva and I bet on her. When she beat Holly Holm. That was the one that like nobody believed. You know what I mean? Nobody believed on the Holly Holm fight. And I bet her big that night. Like, I was beyond confident. I knew that Holly was a little old. I knew she was a little shot, and I knew she was going to get that win. So I think I may have overestimated her because of my success the last time around. And that's where you do always have to trust your balls, but you got to be careful, because every once in a while, it's not that you're seeing the fight right. You are a little high on your own brand every once in a while. And this one got me, because I was this close. I had that little tingle on the back of my neck of I should pass this fight, and then I didn't. So like, that's where I cost myself money on this one, and that's unfortunate, but is what it is. I made up for it in the main event, man. Dricus and New, baby. I have called for this man to be champion. I have gone to war with Dricus multiple fights in a row now. I think his last four, I got to go back and double check, but I've been riding the Dricus train basically since he got to the UFC. And dude, I've gotten stupid numbers the entire way. So I read this guy perfectly. I bet him bigly against Perez. I bet him big against Giles. I think I may have passed or bet him small against Tavares. I passed on Darren Till. I think I'm going off memory here, so you guys have to forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm apologizing here. But then the Brunson fight, back to back here, man. The Brunson fight and the Whitaker fight. I told everybody, bet this live. I was like, just wait, because there's no way Brunson loses round one. Like, he's gonna take him down. He's gonna get on top of him. You'll get a better number live. And sure as shit, we knew Brunson's cardio would fall off a cliff. We knew he was fragile as soon as he got tired. And so I jumped in after round one and got like a 5-1 on Dricus against Brunson. Again, I'm going to have to go back and look at the numbers. Maybe that's a little aggressive. It might have been like plus 280 or something. But then he was a 3-1 dog against Whitaker, and I smashed that spot. A multi-unit bet in that spot where I was like, again, just pure confidence. And then again, a 2-unit bet here against Sean Strickland, where I was like, the wrong guy's favored. It was a close fight. I know this was extremely controversial. I know a lot of people had Strickland, and you could have scored it for Strickland. The one thing I want to say, so that everyone doesn't, the biggest thing in the comments, James, after this fight is people scream at me for my bias. If I've got a bet, of course, my guy won. They think I'm biased. I do my best to not be biased. I try really hard not to. It's human nature. Can't get all the way away from it, obviously. But in this spot, I think what went wrong for Sean is the visuals, because Sean Strickland is coming off beating the brakes off of Israel Adesanya. And that fight was so dominant and so clear because he was moving forward. And the majority of Sean Strickland's fights is him coming forward. He doesn't do a lot. He doesn't hurt people. He hits you with a jab. He hits you with a teep kick. He doesn't rock you usually. He doesn't sit you down usually. He has been doing that a little bit more often recently. But for the majority of his career, he's a decision guy. In this fight, Dricus was the one moving forward. So anytime Dricus landed a shot, it was a big hook. It was a big overhand. It was a body kick that stumbled Strickland across the cage. It was that head kick that he kept going to. So when you're comparing strikes, and everybody always drives me nuts when they send you the stats. Stats don't win fights. When they click the button for a significant strike, it could have been a jab. It could have been an overhand that rocked you and led to a 10-8. Those are both one single significant strike. They're not the same. They are not graded equally. But they are graded equally. Visually, they don't mean the same thing. So a judge watching the fight is going to see those two significant strikes differently. So yes, Sean had more strikes. Yes, Sean had more significant strikes. But watching the fight, the bigger strikes were coming from Dricus. And he was the one moving forward. Sean was retreating the entire fight. It looked almost like, instead of the jab being the thing that was dictating where the fight took place, like it was against Israel Adesanya, it was a defense mechanism. It looked like it was all he could do to keep Dricus off of him in this fight. And yes, Dricus had the damage early on, so I understand those early rounds maybe scoring them for Sean, where Dricus started to get a little puffed up. But as soon as Dricus hit him with that right hand that cut his eye open, and I know everyone's talking, it was a headbutt. No, it wasn't. Dricus hits him with a right hand, And then I believe when they're in the clinch, they like rubbed faces against each other, and that made it worse. But the cut was initially opened by a right hand strike from Dricus du Plessis. He evened out the damage. And in fact, later on in the fight, James, I know the judges aren't supposed to look at like damage from previous rounds and like score them in the current rounds or anything like that. But when one guy has like Braveheart style blood dripping all down the side of his face, that looks a whole hell of a lot worse than a little purple spot over the top of your eye. Like visually, it looked like Dricus had done more damage to Sean in the fight. If you scored it for Sean Strickland, I am not going to stand here and gloat and be like, oh, I made the best bet of all time. It was a close fight. If they had called Sean Strickland's name and still, I wouldn't have called robbery. I think Dricus did enough to win. I do. I scored the fight 4-1 for him. However, it could have been 3-2 for either Dricus or Sean, and those are defensible scorecards. So I think it was a close competitive fight. I think the right guy won. I'm happy to cash another ticket, and I hope they give me a chance to fade Israel Adesanya at plus money because I think Dricus is going to beat him too, James. But what were your thoughts on this fight, and what did you do here on this one?
Yes, that was a good fight. So at this point in the card, I was up over $100,000. So I decided to place some bets. I hadn't had any bets on this fight prior to that, but because I was up a lot of money, I was like, you know what, fuck it. And this is what sometimes I'll do. And, you know, in the gambling handbook 101, people would tell me, no, you shouldn't do that. You know, it's not plus EV if you didn't bet it earlier. Why are you betting it now? I don't give a shit. What I do works for me. I win tons of money for years, and I was winning tons of money that night. So if I want to place a couple grand on a fighter that I think's going to win, fuck it, I'll do it. And that's what I did. So I bet on Dricus du Plessis, money line, a few times, and then I also bet on him. I bet on him live a lot of times, right? So I had him to win money line, and I think it was like round 4. I think it was round 4. He was like plus 150 or plus 130. Mm-hmm. Between round 3 and round 4, I was betting on him at plus money, right? And then end of round 4, he went to like minus 300, minus 400, right? And I actually laid it again. I put $3,000 on minus 300 to win $1,000. That's how confident I was. I had him 3 rounds up to 1 going into round 5, and I thought he was going to win round 5. Sean done very, very well in round 5 to probably win the round. He actually shocked me because I thought Sean was fading and Dricus was rising the trajectory. I had scored it 3 rounds to 1 before that. So in my head, the fight was already done, but I also thought he was going to win round 5. Overall, I scored it for Dricus. As I just said, you know, I had it 3 rounds to 1 going into round 5. I did give Sean round 5. So I had 3 rounds to 2. I think 2, 3, and 4 for Dricus and 1 and 5 for Sean. But don't quote me on that. I will go back and watch it. But I believe that's what I had. I think that Dricus du Plessis was a great bet from you pre-fight. I think it was clearly the side. I don't think there's any argument available from any gambler that Dricus du Plessis wasn't the side there. At the end of the day, Dricus has all of the upside in terms of the grappling. He shot 11 takedowns, and his pace was the same in round 5 as it was in round 1. In fact, in round 5, he was pushing a little bit harder than round 1 because round 1, he took some time to get past the jab. So he shot 11 takedowns. He got 6 of them. He's always going to have the takedown upside, which won him rounds. Yes, he didn't keep Sean down, but the takedowns won him rounds. Believe that on the visual. And on top of that, he's always going to have the power upside. He's always going to have the finishing upside. He was clearly the side, man. I think he was clearly the side. I think the deserved winner won. I think Dricus du Plessis should have been a minus 150 favorite in that spot. I think if they rerun it again, Dricus minus 150 is about accurate. And I think that that's what it would be lined as well. I don't even think the market will go back to minus 110. I think Dricus will be a favorite in that spot. So, yeah, man, congrats on your bet. Dricus done it. It's so funny that Dricus du Plessis is the champion. Because if you remember when he first came into the UFC, and obviously you wasn't part of this because you've been betting on him, right? Which is a very, very sharp angle. Like anyone who's been betting on Dricus in his career is like extremely sharp because the whole market has not been doing that, right? So anytime that you take... Anytime that you take a big stand against the market and you win consistently, that's a massively sharp angle. And Dricus has been, everyone's been trying to fade this guy. Dricus was the laughing stock of the MMA community for so long, right? There's no way he's going to beat Brunson. There's no way, not Brunson, but there's no way he's going to beat Robert Whittaker. He can never become champion. Like, he was getting slander from everywhere. And now he is UFC champion, undefeated in the UFC, never been beat. The guy has been beat twice in his whole career, man. He is a phenom. He is as strong as an ox. He is going to be tough to beat. Now, I do think that he's going to get brutally beat at some point. I think he's going to get knocked out bad. And it's so funny because Darren Till kind of was the man to do that if he had takedown defense. Darren Till would have pieced that guy up. You saw what happened in round 2. But you're going to need a very clinical striker. Izzy isn't clinical enough. Izzy isn't like a Vader with pinpoint accuracy. Izzy's more, he sets himself up himself. He feints himself. I don't think he's the type of fighter to beat Dricus. I'm just going into the weeds a little bit now.
I also think Dricus can out-grapple Izzy. I think Dricus is big and strong enough to take him down.
Easily. And Izzy doesn't have much when he's on his back. He's got good takedown defense and he's scrambly.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Dricus, like, I don't think Dricus will sub him just because Dricus ain't really that guy, you know what I mean? Like, and Izzy, he probably has enough to get back up to his feet. But I think that when Dricus takes him down, I think he can land some shots. And I also think that the takedowns are going to really stifle Izzy's striking offense, just like they do in every fight. Dricus gets takedowns in every single fight. And that stifles his opponent's striking. The reason Sean wasn't able to get more 1-2s off is because he was worried about the takedown, right? So Dricus is a force. Yeah, but just to wrap it up, like I was saying, it's so funny that he's become champion because he was literally looked at as like one of the worst fighters in the UFC at that level. And then he just steamrolls everyone. So I've made a lot of money on Dricus over his fights. And I did bet on that one. I didn't bet anything officially before the fight, but he continues to be a money cow for both of us, man. So shout out to Dricus. 2 new champions, which is always good to end the card on 2 new champions.
Absolutely. Definitely a fun way to do it. I love the new blood. I like it when the divisions kind of recycle a little bit and we get some new matchups and stuff like that. I think that's a good dang time. I think Dricus beats Israel Adesanya. And I'm just mad that I didn't get that fight here or when Sean took the spot because he would have been plus 300 again. And I would have bet that again. And he was going to win that fight. So now I'm going to have to settle for even money. I think they opened it at Izzy minus 115. So he'll be like slight dog money. I don't know if I'm actually going to get plus money. It probably goes to minus 110 pretty quickly. But that's the side that I will be on. The big question for me, though, James, is Khamzat, because it looks like they're trying to get Khamzat into the title picture here for UFC 300. And believe it or not, Khamzat's a weird case now because I think he's too big for 170. And I do think he's too much of a force. He could overpower even somebody like Dricus early. Yeah. But we've now seen that Dricus has 25-minute cardio. We've now seen that Dricus can extend a fight and still have finishing power deep. And it looks like that's the problem for Khamzat. So he tried to make 170. He's a little on the smaller side. Both these guys have inflated up to 185. So who's more physical? Who's stronger? Who's the better grappler? I actually think Dricus has a cardio edge. And I think people will leave this guy for dead against Khamzat. And he might upset the apple cart again. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, Khamzat after round 1 is not it. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's got to finish. It's tough to ever like pick him. I also feel like Dricus is just weird where like Khamzat could probably knock him down in round 3 or something. Like, because Dricus, he's so all over the place. It works for him. But like I said, a pinpoint striker will catch him. Khamzat's not that. But he does have power. He does have heavy hands. He does throw straight kind of shots. So it is possible. I don't know who I'd pick in that fight. It's weird. Like, it's a tough one, bro. It's a tough one. I'd have to watch the tape. Like, it's true Khamzat could go out there and sub him, but I feel like Khamzat would dominate in round 1. I don't know if he'd finish him, though, man. Like, Dricus is tough motherfucker. I don't know if he'd just blow him out in round 1. Like, we saw Usman got dominated in round 1, but he couldn't finish him, you know? And so, I mean, who has Khamzat finished? Who has Khamzat finished? Kevin Holland. No one else, right? And we know Kevin Holland has like horrific takedown defense and he makes mistakes on the ground like against Brendan Allen. He's good offensively, but defensively he's not that good. Like,
I don't know, man. Hamza ain't really proved himself at this level, in my opinion. I do think he's elite, though, and he can finish anyone, but he ain't proved himself to me.
I agree. In fact, I think he's almost kind of exposed himself, right? Like, because he finished Jing Liang Li, the Leech. He finished Holland. Those both came super early. Mearshart, Reese McKee, like these are guys that are not at the top of the end of the division here. And then he had to go to war with Gilbert Burns, who I think is undersized at this weight class and a little chinny. He wasn't able to finish him. And then Kamaru Usman, which there's no shame in not being able to finish Kamaru Usman. However, that was a 185-pound fight. Like, that was up the extra weight. That was supposed to be Usman on a platter for Hamzat, kind of size bullying and not having to cut the weight. And like, that was a setup fight so that Hamzat could get a big finish over the most recent champ and have a clear stake to the title. He wasn't able to get the finish. So yeah, man, in a 25-minute fight against a filled out 185-pound fellow fighter, I think I would live bet, man. I think I would hope that Dreykus lost round 1 and survived, and then try to jump in kind of like I did against Brunson and see if maybe he could punch his way back into it.
Yeah, like you can spin it many ways, like we can do an MMA betting depending on what side you're at, right? But I'm looking at it objectively, like, yes, performing like that against Gilbert Burns, who at the time was, a good fighter, maybe not as much these days. This is 2-3 years ago now. It was a good performance. It was his only performance where he had gone past round 1. So, yeah, or past round 2. So it made sense that maybe he didn't look great. It was a good fight, but the fact of the matter is he did gas out in that fight. Yeah. And then the only fight where he went long was Kamaru Usman. And again, it's a good performance. He beat Kamaru Usman, one of the greatest to ever do it. But like you said, the intangibles were on his side. I believe it was short notice for Usman as well. I think it was short
notice for Usman.
Short notice for Usman, and I guess obviously for Hamzat, but I think Hamzat was in camp training for a fight anyway, so it was short notice for Hamzat, but short notice for Usman, and he gassed out again. No matter what you say, if it's a good performance beating Usman, I believe it was a good performance. I genuinely do. And what he did to him in round 1 was actually kind of astonishing. Like, it was amazing, to be honest. It was amazing, right? So I really rate the performance. But the fact of the matter is, Clint, he gassed out in 2 fights that went to decision, and he gassed out quite bad. So
Usman on a full camp probably beats him.
Yeah, maybe, bro. Like Usman gassed out as well, and maybe he doesn't gas out. And I also think that Usman, and he spoke to this as well, which is something that's very hard to cap. But I also think that Usman doubted himself a lot in that fight, and mentally he wasn't there. And he actually said that after the Leon Edwards fights, he doubted himself. After the Hamzat Chimaev fight, his post-fight interview, I think backstage with Megan Levy, I believe it was, maybe, he said, I could have won the fight, but mentally, I wasn't there. I didn't trust myself. And I fully believe him. Like, oftentimes, these fighters make excuses after fights. But we've been in MMA for a long time, me and you. Our job, in a sense, is to discern whether they're just saying it or whether it's true. And my opinion is that Kamaru Usman is telling the truth. He did doubt himself. He could have won the fight. He didn't want to push because he didn't believe his cardio. And his confidence was completely gone from the Leon Edwards fight. So maybe that fight plays out differently on another day. We'll never know. Hamzat got it. But yeah, I just don't truly believe Hamzat yet. Not after round 1. How could you? How could you?
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. I do want to shout out our guy in the chat, Gray, one more time, saying, do we credit Sean's ability to get up or is DDP's top game suspect? No, we give all the credit to Sean Strickland. If you guys have seen the training videos, like with Magomed Ankalaev is a guy that people are talking about challenging for the title at 205. And Sean is getting up and breaking the grip of that man in those same situations. I think DDP has an excellent offensive submission game. If you guys saw the post about like the Shark Tank that he went through with the BJJ black belts, like his sub game and his top pressure, they are no joke. Sean is hard as fuck to take down, and he's even harder to keep there. I think that's all credit Sean Strickland.
I'm not as high on DDP's offensive grappling game as you, but I do give the credit to answer Gray's question, mainly to Sean Strickland in this spot. I didn't really think he would hold him down prior fight, and I was correct post-fight, He shots a lot of takedowns. I don't think he's going to be going out there and subbing guys. Like, I don't think he's a slick grappler. I'll say it. I'll say this. If you went to jiu-jitsu class, probably like my coach would say, you need to fix up. You're doing loads of shit wrong. But in terms of like effectiveness in an MMA fight where strikes are allowed, I believe he has a very good game. Like, he's very heavy top pressure. He's very strong. He's more of a catch wrestling style in which, like, he'll kind of just grab onto your neck and yank it in a horrible way. And you may just tap from that. And it's not even really a submission. It's not slick or anything. He's not getting under your chin and locking it up. You know, he's kind of just like grabbing wherever he can because he's so strong. And obviously he knows how to distribute his weight fairly well. But like, he does also get reversed quite a lot and stuff. So I don't know. It's weird. Like, I'm going in a little bit on his grappling skills now. I think he's a very good wrestle heavy type grappler. I don't think he's a slick jiu-jitsu guy though. Me personally, maybe I'll see it in the future. But yeah, to answer Gray's question, to bring it back home, yeah, I do. I agree with Clint. I give Sean mainly the credit for that. It's not really DDP too much. I don't think no one can really hold Sean down, you know? Like Usman couldn't even do it. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, that's hey, that's all I got for you though. That's the recap for UFC 297. James, thank you so much for jumping on here late notice. This was awesome to be able to kind of recap and break this card down with you. Hell of a lot more fun to do it this way. Off the top, man, before we wrap this thing up, we've got a whole week to wait before we've got any upcoming fights or anything like that. And the next card is kind of a bit of a dumpster fire. But is there any fight that like jumps out at you or anything that like catches your eye that you've been thinking about for the next event, or have you not gotten there yet?
There's a few fights, but I haven't done full tape, so I don't want to like give any full predictions out.
Oh, for sure.
Off the top, like Charles Johnson, I've been betting against him, you know. I bet against him big in his last fight, right? Charles Johnson. I bet Rafael Estevam. I made a very, very big bet on that. And it seems like he might just get taken down again. But I don't know. I need to go and watch tape a little bit. It might just be too obvious. It was kind of like Malott subbing Magny was just too obvious. And sometimes the market just fixates on certain things. And I believe maybe I'm fixating on Charles Johnson's takedown grappling hole. I need to look into Maxim's offensive grappling a little bit more. Because, yes, he took down his last opponent. I think it was Ode Osborne. I can't remember. I believe it was.
Tyson Nam.
Tyson Nam. Yeah, he took him down quite a lot, right? But, no, he didn't take him down. Did he take him down? This is what I'm saying, Clint. I need to go.
Yeah, no, we got to do the work.
I think he should have taken him down, but, like, he didn't. Was it that he should have taken him down and then he didn't?
I also have to run back that fight because...
No, he did. Sorry. So
yeah,
I just checked UFC stats now. Now I remember the fight. So he took him down twice. He shot 11 takedowns, but he couldn't really get him down. Tyson Nam is a very good defensive wrestler. So what I was saying is it seems like Maxim probably is able to just take down Charles Johnson here again and win in 29-28.
Nam has excellent takedown defense.
Exactly. But I need to watch the tape. The only other one that's interesting, because that's very specific gambler-esque, right? It's not really that entertaining. One that's a little bit interesting to me is Drew Dober versus Renato Moicano.
That's the one I was going to bring up.
Very good fight. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one, because on the one hand, Drew Dober can knock that boy out, but Moicano can submit that boy. So I don't know if you're leaning anyway. What's your opinion?
You know, just like knee-jerk reaction, as soon as I saw the betting numbers come out, I'm like, plus money on Drew Dober? Like that was the very first thing that like came at me that I was like, I still think in the back of my mind that Renato Moicano is a little bit chinny, right? Yeah, I have always, and you know what? I was never able to shake that with Charles Oliveira. Like I won a couple bets recently on Charles Oliveira, but I've lost so much money lifetime betting against him because I keep going, he's chinny. Someone eventually at the high level is going to get him. He's chinny. Somebody eventually is going to catch him again. And it got to the point where he was just able to protect himself, and it didn't happen all that often. So I lost piles. That's where I'm at right now with Renato. So I'm going, I know he's chinny. So when you give me somebody like Dober that can get in there and really touch him up, I think that's an easy path to victory here. However, he's looked really great lately. He fought Alexander Hernandez and was able to take those shots. He made Brad Riddell look stupid and retire. He went 5 rounds with Rafael Dos Anjos. And even though Dos Anjos isn't what he used to be, he's a guy that hits pretty damn hard and has pretty good striking. Like that should have been a fight where maybe he got caught. And he did a couple times. He lost the decision, but he went the full 5. So like Yeah, my knee-jerk reaction is plus money on Drew Dober probably is good, but I need to dig way deeper into that one before I can actually make the bet. Yeah, but I like that one. My girl Julija Stoliarenko is back. You know, my round one sub queen. I'm with you there on Maxim because I have been on the opposite side of my guy Charles Johnson. Big fan, big supporter. One of those grimy, underappreciated underdog types that for whatever reason I just get attracted to it and jump on board with. I want to see them succeed and do well, but I kind of feel like the writing's on the wall a little bit here with the guy, unfortunately. And then Gilbert Urbina. I made a real big bet on him in his last fight, and that turned out real well. He's a bit pricier than he was. I think people are finally realizing that he's the best of the Urbina brothers, and he's got a little bit of respect to his name now. So not sure if I want to lay minus 180 at this stage. Obviously, I have to do the research, but those are the ones that kind of leapt off the page at me that I kind of wanted to look a little deeper into right away.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually thought the opposite. Moicano, like, oh, damn, Moicano might be able to take him down because I saw it was close to even money. But to be honest, I'm thinking about it more. And you know what? You just mentioned that Rafael dos Anjos fight. I just went back and looked at that. I forgot about that fight completely. I thought he was coming off Alexander Hernandez and Brad Riddell submission wins. And actually sandwiched in there as a Rafael dos Anjos loss. And that fight was a bit shit. Like, he kind of got dominated in that fight. I remember he was getting kind of bullied. I'm pretty sure that at some point the fight could have even been stopped late.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but I feel like Rafael dos Anjos could have got that late finish. That's not a great
RDA
look.
beat the brakes off him.
He badly beat him up, right? And I don't know if that's a great look, but at the end of the day, this is a massive stylistic matchup difference. Drew Dober is not good from bottom position, right? We know that. So that's always going to be a worry. And he don't have good takedown defense really either, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's an entertaining fight. It might be one of those fireball and popcorn fights for me, or, you know, like T and Nando's, bro. It might be a T and Nando's fight for me.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, man. And then MMA locker room in the house. He's asking Fluffy versus Hopilov. We've got a short notice replacement. Hopilov filling in here on this one. And man, Hopilov has really rounded out his game. Ever since he got to the UFC, he's been on just a rocket ship of improvement as far as like his grappling, his takedown defense. And he's such a clean striker. Fluffy's another guy. I think he's got that cardio and pace because he's a little small for the division. I kind of think that Hopilov might be able to catch him with something, but how many times have we said that and then Fluffy just melts somebody and wears them out, tires them out, you know, pounds them out late into the fight. I would lean Hopilov, but that's another fun fight. It's another good one.
I think Fluffy will be a big favorite in that one, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just thinking of me personally, what I would line it. If Kopylov doesn't knock him out, he's going to be fucked. But I could see some stupid shit happening where he just head kicks him in round one. It's just like
minutes versus moments. It's one of those tough stylistic matchups.
I could see that happen. Like Kevin Holland versus Fluffy Hernandez. It seems like Fluffy Hernandez is the hindsight favorite in that spot because of Kevin Holland's bad takedown defense. But Fluffy looked very vulnerable in that fight. I know it only lasted 30 seconds or whatever it was, but it seems like Hopilov could like head kick him, just some bullshit would happen, even though Fluffy should be like minus 300 or something. But I don't know. We'll see where the odds go. To answer your question, I think Fluffy will be a favorite for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we got for you, folks. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hit the like button on your way out. We'll be back next week, of course, regularly scheduled programming, breaking down more MMA action for you guys to bet. Make sure you give our guy James a follow over on Lucrative MMA, doing some awesome things there on all social media platforms. Excellent content. If you're an Instagram person as opposed to a Twitter person, his short reels and stuff like that up on Instagram are fan-freaking-tastic. I know I already kind of, gushed over you and shouted you out, man, but is there anything else you want to let the people know? Is there any other place they can go to support you?
No, brother. I just wanted to come in, hop in. I think I've got my MMA fix for the day now, so I can kind of kick back a little bit. I will be making more content, like you said, but I won't be speaking to anyone. So yeah, man, just follow me on all social platforms. I got Twitter, I got TikTok, I got YouTube, I got Instagram. I've got all of this stuff. So just follow me on there. You're on YouTube right now. So go over to my YouTube channel. I give tons of free content. I'm doing daily videos now. So yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I'm glad you won. I know I won a lot this weekend and I've spoke about that a lot, but I know you won a lot this weekend as well. So you did, right?
Yeah. Okay, 13 unit night for me. So good one. It was a big night.
13 unit is, so we both had a big night, man. So hopefully we can do it next time, and hopefully we can do it for the next pay-per-view, which may be a fun one for me and you specifically. I don't know if it will be, but you know, I think you know what I'm saying. I'll leave that to you. I'll leave that to you anyway. But yeah,
I'm picking up the drift. I like it. Some of the savvier listeners probably know what's up. All right, everybody, that'll do it. Thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of your week. I'm gonna go sweat out my Coyotes. We got our ass kicked by the Penguins every single time we play them. Seriously, James, we're like the last 8 games we've gotten smashed by them. So I'm gonna go watch some hockey. You guys have a great week, and until next week, let's roll.